Friends, today's NRI Summer program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisummer@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Good morning, friends. Good evening, wherever you are. This is your host, Suresh. Today we have Mr. P.G. Bhat. We had the privilege of having Mr. Bhat on our show about a year ago, talking about the dismal electoral data that is with special focus on Karnataka. And Mr. Bhat is a retired Navy officer, and since 2009, he has been engaged with a group called Smart Vote, which has been working incessantly and very diligently to not only highlight the issues with the voter data, but also try and attempt to fix it. So recently, Bangalore has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, and one of them being that it had probably the country's worst, if not the worst, voter turnout. So let's talk to Mr. Bhat himself, try and understand what are the primary reasons behind this kind of a trend, what are some of the activities that Mr. Bhat and team are doing, how can we fix this, and also try and understand the situation in Pune, in Hyderabad, because I think all the metros have had a similar kind of a problem. So, Mr. Bhat, it's a great pleasure to have you on NRI Summer, and welcome back.
Thank you, Suresh. I'm glad to be with you all. Good morning and good evening to all the listeners.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, Suresh. How do we start?
So first of all, let me start with, so what is your first reaction to the Bangalore voter turnout?
Okay, the voter turnout in Bangalore, as reported in the newspapers, or as stated by the Chief Electoral Officer, is about 54%. But the 54% is calculated on the basis of a faulty electoral roll. The electoral rolls, if you consider, some of the things I have proven with the help of software analysis. The number one problem we have in the electoral rolls is rampant duplicate entries.
Okay.
I'm limiting my discussion to the voter list of Bangalore alone because they are available in English. Outside Bangalore, they are all in Kannada, which is not amenable for software analysis. I'm not able to extract the Indic text conveniently to analyze further. So within Bangalore, the 28 constituencies of Bangalore have got now about 78 lakh voters, 7.8 million voters. Out of the 78 lakh voters or 7.8 million voters, I have suggested, based on investigation, that 1.7 million records need to be checked if they are duplicate. So you can imagine a whopping more than 20% of the entries are suspect. Not all of them will be duplicate.
Right.
But with the software, it is very easy to narrow down. If you compare the photographs of the suspected voters with the help of software, then we can reduce the fieldwork significantly and say whether they are duplicates or not. I did this exercise for Chhattisgarh, for which I could get a sample of the voter list, and the software works beautifully. There is no problem at all.
Okay.
But in Bangalore, the Chief Electoral Officer is not willing to part with any of his so-called secret information, despite suggestions from the Election Commission of India. The Election Commission of India suggested to the Chief Electoral Officer Bangalore to share the voter rolls of at least one complete district with me, along with the photographs, so that I can prove my point. But that has not taken any further step. Over the past 8 months, it has gone through. So anyway, cutting the thing short, there are rampant duplicate entries. Out of the 78 lakh or 7.8 million voters, 5 lakh or 5.5 lakh sets of duplicate entries are there. One set can have 2 to 240 names, relative name, and age which are similar. So what I did, I went to the shortlist of this one to my ward, about 3 lakh voters, and what I suspected, they all came out to be true duplicates by comparing photographs. So the number one problem we have is the duplicate entries. And in one of the sample survey conducted by one of our volunteers, he has found in one voter list, or in a small survey he did, he found 15% of the entries were duplicated. Now this I'm talking first, this is a very simple task to detect and delete. It is not much of a task to cleanse the roll with the duplicate entries. The second problem with the electoral roll is not as easy to handle, but software can definitely help, is the people who have moved out have not been removed from the voter list.
I see.
People change address, especially in cities, the movement is very common.
Right.
And somebody says about 20% of the population keeps moving, 20% per year is the movement. So if you don't look at removing the people who moved out regularly, then you have got a lot of bloated list.
Right.
So in the survey that my friend has conducted, it may be a little on the higher side. This sample gave a higher side of people who moved out. He found 33% of the people had moved out in one particular booth.
I see.
So this adds to the duplicated entries. The third issue is the people who have expired. They have not been removed from the list. So in this survey, he found 5% of the people who are dead, their names still exist in the rolls.
Right.
Apart from these three problems, there are wrong entries to bloat the voter list. When I say wrong entries, when the people have moved out means they were once valid voters. The people who are dead, they were once valid voters.
Right.
But the fake entries, the people who never lived here, or even in non-residential property, like a friend of mine, his wife runs a clinic in a commercial property. Now he suddenly found 10 voters are registered in that address where nobody lives.
Wow.
So he lodged a complaint telling that how do you have 10 voters living in my wife's clinic? There is nobody living there because I know that.
Right.
And out of the 10, 6 have been deleted, 4 voters still exist in that residence. It is a commercial building. There is nobody residing there. And he pays a higher tax for that because it is non-residential property. Also, people have found examples where voters have registered in blank sites, no houses. It is just a ground, playground, whatever. People are registered there also. So when we say voter turnout is low, we have to take into consideration the basis on which we compare.
Right.
My suspicion is that if you take on an average in Bangalore, we can consider that about 25 to 30% of the entries in the voter list are fake. Fake in the sense invalid. Either they are duplicated, or people have moved out, or people never lived there, or people have expired.
Right.
So the basis is wrong.
I see.
I want to give another insight into this one.
Sure.
Now, West Bengal has reported a turnout of 82.5% in the Lok Sabha elections.
Wow.
And Calcutta, has got as much movement as Bengaluru would have.
Right.
Because it is bordering to Bangladesh. It has been one of the greatest metros of the country. And the people do move around a lot from Calcutta. People may be moving out for job from Calcutta and less people coming in. Now, Calcutta rolls, when I analyzed, they got only 3% possible duplicates, suspected duplicates. If you narrow down, it is only 1.2% possible duplicates. And the quality of rolls of Calcutta or Kolkata is far superior to that of Delhi, Bombay or Mumbai or Bangalore, far superior. And naturally, the voter turnout reported there is also far better.
Right.
So what I feel is that we have a direct correlation between the quality of electoral rolls and the voter turnout that is reported.
I see.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. Among others, we focus on stories of need for equality, inspiration, environment, health, and politics. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding, and thus our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and all donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned Kolkata, right? Why is it that they have a much better electoral data? Is it because the government is actually engaged in trying to correct the data, maintain the data properly, or is it that the Election Commission itself taking interest in doing the due diligence?
I spoke to the Chief Electoral Officer of West Bengal at Calcutta. I congratulated him for a much higher quality of electoral roll and asked him, how do you maintain it so well when others are not doing so?
Right.
He said, we take interest, we are professional, and we are diligent in what the work we do. All that is needed, Suresh, is that the guidelines, rules, standards, everything laid down by the Election Commission are pretty good. They are very good. I would say I would rate them excellent. They have gone into great details telling how to operate. But the problem comes when the chief electoral officers ignore them and defend their actions, defend their wrong actions. In addition to that, I also spoke to the chief electoral officer's staff. I did not speak to the chief electoral officer. I spoke to the deputy chief electoral officer of Kerala. They are also maintaining a far better quality. And you can see the voter turnout in Kerala is better. One, maybe they are more sensitized about the political activities. We don't deny that in West Bengal and Kerala. But that is not the only reason. I have got clear evidence that when the chief electoral officer and his staff do a good work, the turnout is better.
I see.
I can also quote another example within Karnataka.
Sure.
In Karnataka, the electoral rules in smaller towns, say Mangalore or Mysore, etc., they are maintained by the collector or the district collector. He is the person responsible there.
I see.
And in Bangalore, it is the municipality, BBMP.
Oh, I see.
Now, the quality, the turnout, if you consider, they reported 72% voter turnout in Dakshina Kannada, Mangalore, Puttur mainly. There, again, when we spoke to the district electoral officers, we realized that they feel responsible, they feel accountable for the work they do, which is not the case in Bangalore. When I interact with the people in Bangalore, for example, the BBMP, who takes care of the electoral roll maintenance, when I spoke to the commissioner, I showed him record after record which are duplicated. His reaction was that, how does it matter? And I offered help. I said, I can interact with your electoral registration officers, reduce their effort to 1/10 of what they are doing, and have far superior roles. Now, his assistant commissioner says that would not be correct to take external help.
Okay.
So I find a clear apathy in maintaining the electoral rules and other conduct of elections, especially which is done under BBMP.
Right. So, sir, is there nothing at all that can be done if a chief election officer himself and his staff included show this kind of being indifferent to this kind of a situation? Isn't there any provision within the guidelines of Election Commission or within our own laws or within our own framework that can be done to either have them responsible, take the account, be more accountable? If not, they can be, dragged to the court or, strong punishment can be given. Isn't there anything?
Yes. Yes. There are provisions, like we have gone to the High Court of Karnataka twice, seeking redressal for the injustice being done to the people. The first time, the Chief Justice gave an order which was very favorable to us, asking the Chief Electoral Officer to correct all the errors and anomalies. And he has done it partly. He had a voter registration drive. A lot of emphasis was given to increase the registered people in the roll. That happened after the writ petition. Subsequently, the deleted, that time our emphasis was for the illegal deletions. So a lot of people have come back to the rolls, but we did not then realize this bloated thing up to this extent, which we have to survey further, we have to go further. As far as the actions are concerned, the thing is that we are pleading. We are going by I at least write at least 1 or 2 mails per week to the Election Commission and the Chief Electoral Officer, giving him evidences, and every time offering help, proving that it can be done with far less effort, for which there has been no response so far. I'm also discussing with the retired Chief Election Commissioner, Dr. Qureshi, telling that please help us. He is chairing an organization called Center for Ethical Life and Leadership. So I'm pleading with him. We have formed a National Committee for Electoral Reforms, which is headed by Dr. Qureshi, of which I'm a member. So we continue with the dialogue, hoping to get some response. But another good thing that happened, Suresh, you just mentioned a while ago about the case in Pune and Maharashtra.
Right.
Something good has happened out of it. I don't say good, but something which may help us in improving the thing is that the Mr. Brahma, who is one of the 3 election commissioners, he has apologized to the public for the poor state of electoral rolls in Maharashtra, and he also said that it requires a thorough investigation countrywide.
I see. That's indeed very.
After the research. Pardon me?
No, I was just saying that's indeed very good that someone as high as him has taken up this responsibility of at least acknowledging the problem.
Yes, that is a good thing, because all this while they were defending the situation, telling that everything is fine.
Right.
So he has at least he has told very clearly that it is wrong. Unauthorized deletion happened due to lack of supervision on the ground, and it is all wrong. And he said this is a lapse on our part. He said he has acknowledged.
Right.
So that is a good thing.
Right.
So yes.
So, I was going to ask you. So earlier you mentioned about one of the reasons for the poor data quality is the fact that people move out of Bangalore and the voter data never gets updated. Now, likewise, people also move into Bangalore and they live there for like more than 6 months or more than a year. Long enough to qualify a voter for that constituency. Now, how do those actually get into the system? Do we have to, can you talk about the registration process, how easy or difficult, accessible it is to these kind of people who move into Bangalore?
Yes. Now, for the past 2-3 years, there have been good amount of initiative taken by various NGOs and some movements, like you mentioned about Smart Vote. We started in 2009, campaigning, requesting the people to register, facilitating online registration. That is one thing that happened. Then Vote for Better India, which is another organization. Many of you from the US also is supporting it with the software development and various other kind of activities. So Vote for Better India is another organization which is reaching out to the people all over India, improving the registration drive. I mentioned about CEL, the Center for Ethical Life and Leadership. They have got a bigger clout FICCI, NASSCOM, various other organizations, the industry bodies. Now they have approached about 6 months ago the election and accepted, the Election Commission has accepted that the HR manager of an organization can certify and the voters to be or the citizens to be genuine residents of Bangalore, their employees, and they can submit the application forms in bulk to facilitate the registration if needed. They have told one of the electoral registration officers can visit such factories, the organizations, companies, software houses, and accept the forms in bulk. So in reality, there has been a lot of facilitation, some improvement, something has eased out about the registration process. Also, other windows have been opened up. We got civic centers like Bengaluru 1 in Bangalore, those of you who know about it. So the registration has been made easier. Of course, it could be better, but that is another aspect. But registration, I do feel, is far better than what it was 2-3 years ago. It is easier to register. And we do go to industry houses, we go to colleges, we go to various places and encourage people to register. We, in the sense, even I should appreciate the Election Commission's initiative in doing that. They are seeing a lot of push for more registrations.
Right.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. If you have any interesting episode you would like NRI Samay to cover, we will be happy to do so. NRI Samay would also like to encourage amateur journalists who have a flair for highlighting current events. You can be part of our citizen journalist team. You could cover an important event, interview victims of an atrocity, or document an inspirational story. The idea is to have a mix of experience throughout all parts of the world, preferably supported by an audio or a video clip of your story to be aired, which will be the curtain raiser. You can also submit your opinion articles on important topics to NRI Samay. We will be happy to put it on nrisamay.com in the opinion section. All your work will be credited only to you. And if you're interested, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com.
Now, one interesting thing, Mr. Bhat, is that generally we see that there's a lot of push about voter registrations and voter renewals and voter verification, and all this happens maybe 3 months before the elections or 6 months before the elections. But given the magnitude of or the scale at which the elections are held, do you think this 6 months of push is enough for all the people to get registered or do the verification, or do you think that this has to be like once every 2 years or once every 3 years, irrespective of when the elections happen or not?
You have brought a very, very significant point, Suresh. This is the cultural issue, I think, world over. It is not typical to India. I was just reading some blog in the US, people don't think of the income tax till about 10th of April, and next 5 days they're all really strained and stressed to file the income tax returns. So this last moment activity and procrastination, I think it is a common human nature. But answering the question in a bigger way, electoral rolls are open for registration throughout the year. It is called continuous updation. So as per law and as per practice, one can register any time of the year except for small periods of maintenance. So we can say practically 8 to 10 months of every year we can go and register. And sometimes we as the citizens don't wake up till the last moment unless somebody pushes, plots. We don't. Also, the authorities, the machinery, they also don't take it seriously in the time of peace or when the elections are far away. The applications pile up, they don't respond properly. But as you rightly said, it has to be a continuous activity. If you just wake up at the last moment, then we get this current mess of situation. Wrong data, wrong entries, many people don't getting through to the list. Majority of these problems happen because of the last minute rush.
Right. Okay.
But the provisions are there that it has to be a continuous updation. We can update any time. It is possible.
I see. Another question on the same topic is, now you said the voter registration is throughout the year, like there's no restriction, it has to be done 6 months before the elections and so on and so forth. So there was this provision, at least during the elections, that you could go to the nearest post office or you could go to this nearest accessible points where the voter registration can be done. Now, are these also available or accessible like the non-election time frame as well?
Yes, Suresh. They are available throughout. Whenever the registrations are open, we can register in any of these initiatives. Are recent initiatives where they have allowed like Bengaluru 1 centers. So we have to wait and watch how they shape up in future. This Bengaluru 1 is a recent phenomenon about a year ago, where in about 50 centers all around Bengaluru, we can go and register as voters.
I see. Okay. Now, taking this conversation one step ahead is, so the whole idea of cleaning up the voter data, making sure it's all good, is obviously to increase the voting percentage to make this process more democratic. Now,
yes,
one thing that also is observed during elections is on the voting day itself, right outside the polling booth, when the polling booth officer is trying to locate the voter ID, he or she does not have access to the system, as in a computer. They rely on, at least this is what across the board, maybe there are a few exceptions, but they usually rely on handouts or printouts where they located, and there's a lot of issues. Can you talk about addressing those issues as well? Is that also in scope of what you're doing?
Yes, Suresh. The technology is not used to the good of people in this machinery, at least. Like I mentioned about the possibility of reducing the work of the ward officers to a great extent by use of technology. Like you rightly said, they sit with a heap of papers, keep searching, keep doing manual work.
Right.
Though they have got computing facility in the offices, even that they are not trained to use. They don't get the data subset to search. They get only hard copies. So these changes can bring in a very significant reduction in the stress and strain for the staff and improving the quality. Now coming back to specific the election day, the same thing happens again. These days having a handheld device is so cheap, so convenient, but instead of that, they're spending far greater amount of money in printing the hard copies, heaps after heaps, and making the life more inconvenient. So these are other things. A lot of agencies, the voluntary bodies, are telling, are demonstrating some apps on Android devices telling, here we can give you more data, here we can reduce your work, here we can increase the efficiency, improve the quality. That activity is happening, but the authorities are yet to respond to the offers from vigilant citizens or sensible citizens.
I see.
But there is another push that we are giving. We are not reached far.
I see. Okay. So what are your next immediate steps? So do you have any targets in the near future that you're shooting for? Like I understand the BBMP elections are due next year in Karnataka. So is there a conscious effort to try and clean this up before that, or you think it will go beyond that?
We definitely will put all our efforts in cleaning it up before the BBMP elections. Having this much of data and this much of possibilities, in a very simple way we can cleanse it. Sooner this election heat is over, results are announced, we will push in all possible ways to get this corrected. And with people like the previous Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commission itself accepting that there has been fault from their side, I hope we will get a better leverage now. And another good thing is that now we are consolidating, talking to members from various cities. Like in Mumbai, I'm in touch with somebody, Hyderabad in touch with somebody, Delhi in touch with somebody. So we hope we'll have this force multiplier by joining hands and pushing for the cause.
I see. So one last question before I let you go. I know you have a busy day ahead. How have the political parties responded to this voter apathy? Like, did any of the political parties show any interest in lending their hand? Obviously, because they have an equally important role to play in this kind of a situation.
One word answer: no.
I see.
I have written to the 27 MLAs of Bangalore twice, explaining the situation. I met a few of them, including some ministers, seeking their help, seeking their intervention. I have written to the legal heads or the legal wing of the political parties, telling that I need your help, but there has been no response from the political parties.
I see.
The people in the office or people in power.
That's true. Sir, once again, thank you very much for your valuable time, and it's great that you have provided this insight into the real story behind, or the real situation behind the dismal voter turnout in Bangalore. Hopefully people realize that it's not just the voters did not turn up, but the problem is much deeper than that. And wish you all the best in all your efforts, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.